Welcome back to our virtual pilgrimage of the kingdom. We have stopped in this area next to a brook that I hope you can make out behind me. It's really important when we're talking about our song. It goes like this. 5 stones from the wadi deep, David put the giant to sleep. So why did we choose this brook? It's because the ancient Israelite army was camped here when they were going up against the Philistines, including Goliath. And from this very creek, perhaps in this spot, is where David took those 5 smooth stones and with his immense faith in God, went to face Goliath. So this is where we've begun here. We're going to make our way over to Tel. Tel is an archaeological mound where there used to be a city. And this was the city where the Philistines were. I can see it from here. Let's go up there so you can get a better view of the battleground. Follow me. So now we've come up from the valley, from the brook, and we're inside the ancient Philistine city. Isn't that interesting? So you can see from up here, if you had a house, maybe on this side of the city, you could watch the battle unravel below, or at least see where the armies are located. I brought one of our stones up here. I'll lay it right down here, as we are thinking about David during this first week. So look what's behind me. You see this beautiful green valley right now, and you should be able to make out that brook where we got those stones. And you can see there's a broad space here, and then it turns in behind that mound, or that little mountain down there. And if you continue along that pass, you'll actually make your way through the Judean mountains. It's never easy, it's a very mountainous area, and you'll get to Jerusalem. And this is where Saul and his army came from. Of course, the people in his army came from a lot of different places, but they were right over these 2 little mounds in front in that green space. This was his army. Now, because this was a Philistine-held city, of course, Goliath and the rest of the Philistines would have probably used this as a base, and they were encamped over in this area. Now, one of the easiest things to make out is the road down below. So right by that road runs that brook, and you can say that would have been the lines of battle. And so you know the story. You know how Goliath came out, strutted out, and he totally freaked everyone out on Saul's side, and he challenged them to a one-on-one combat to see who would be the slave of who. And so you can imagine this enormous man, and I think it's worth reading in 1 Samuel chapter 17 is where you can read the whole story. Most children know this well because it's exciting to think of this amazing battle between this giant and this tiny little faithful man of God. But I just want to read some of it. I think it will help, because when you come to the Holy Land to be able to take out the Bible and read the scriptures, seeing where these things happened actually brings a grace in itself. And remember, we're talking about that line in our song that David, who took these 5 stones from the wadi deep, slayed that giant. He put him to sleep. So this is what it says. Now the Philistines gathered their armies for battle, and they were gathered at Succoth, which belongs to Judah, and encamped between Succoth and Azekah. This is where we are. This is Azekah, ancient Azekah. And then it continues. They were gathered and encamped in the Valley of Elah, which is this. This is the valley. So we're looking at the scriptures right now. And it says, and there came out from the camp of the Philistines, right below us, right there, what we just talked about, the champion named Goliath of Gath. Now remember, Gath is actually where they had their temple, where they had their god Dagon, right? So Gath, let's listen to what he was like. His height was 6 cubits and a span. He had a helmet of bronze on his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail. And the weight of that coat was 5,000 shekels of bronze. I have no idea how much that is, but it's a lot. And he had greaves of bronze upon his legs, and a javelin of bronze slung between his shoulders. And the shaft of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron. And his shield bearer went before him. So you can imagine this incredible sight. And so we know very well what happens to the camp of Saul. They were scared. But remember, where's David at this point? Little David, who had been anointed king from Bethlehem. David was with his sheep. And he was asked just to bring food up to the people in the army, because his 3 brothers were already with Saul. So David was there, back and forth with Saul, taking care of the sheep, and then being with his brothers with the king. But this is what happened. The champion, the Philistine of Gath, it says down in verse 23, Goliath by name, came up out of the ranks of the Philistines and spoke the same words as before. So this is the time when David hears him say these things, really blaspheming the God of the Israelites, the ancient Israelites. And so David said to Saul, he runs back to the king who knows him. He says, "Let no man's heart fail because of him. Your servant will go and fight with this Philistine." That's in verse 31. And you're like, seriously? Little David. But he has a huge heart. There's something inside of him which is enough to beat this man, and it's his faith. It says down in verse 37, David said, "The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine." And this is the most remarkable thing. Saul agreed. Saul said to David, "Go, and the Lord be with you." We know very well that the armor of Saul didn't fit him. So he says, and this is what we did down below, he took his staff in his hand, chose 5 smooth stones from the brook, put them in his shepherd's bag, in his wallet, took his sling in his hand, and drew near to the Philistine. Look at that road. You can see it from here. The people are watching. The armies are watching the battle between the champion and little tiny David. So the Philistine came on and drew near and of course called him the little dog. And then David said to the Philistine, "You come to me with a sword and with a spear and with a javelin, but I come to you," and this is one of my favorite parts of the whole Bible, "I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hand, and I will strike you down and cut off your head." Okay, so that's what's remarkable, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. And of course, we know what happens then. We can jump down to the next verse, verse 49. David put his hand in his bag, took out a stone, slung it, and struck the Philistine on his forehead. The stone stank into his forehead, and he fell on his face to the ground. So David prevailed over the Philistine. We know the story, and it's great to read it here and to have these stones in our hands from the same brook. It's remarkable. So these last few days that we've just begun Lent, we've talked about the leaven, right? And we've seen that there's 2 different ways of talking about the leaven. It can be very positive, just like David, this little tiny Israelite in this army who's on fire with the love of God. And thanks to that, even with his littleness, with his stone, not an iron sword, not anything else, he defeats this huge champion of the enemies, the ones who have insulted the true God. And everyone then from this town here and all over talk about this story even today. This is what a little bit of good leaven can do. It rises the whole loaf. And he becomes, of course, the king, as we know. And he is the one that even today, the people of Israel look to as they're waiting for the Messiah. And we Christians know the Messiah has come in the line of David because he was a man after God's own heart, as it says in the Bible. But let's look at that other translation, that other understanding of leaven, as it says in the Bible again and again. It can be very negative. A little bit of that can destroy everything. So look at David's life later. He becomes a bit lazy. He's not out in battle, adultery, and murder. What's the result? His own son dies, his son from Bathsheba. He is rejected by his own sons. He goes into battle with them. Actually, he runs from them. And also what happens very soon after his death, the kingdom is divided again. What was united in one was divided. There's corruption there, that bad yeast. But there's something I want to just underline as we make our way into this full, pathway, this full pilgrimage during this Lent, as we're reflecting on the kingdom. And that is David's attitude, his heart, his humbled heart. And that is why it even says in the scriptures, besides this thing that happened with the Hittites, speaking of Bathsheba and the murder of Uriah, he was a man after God's own heart because he repented and he turned back. And that's what we're all called to do during this Lenten season. And there's a psalm, of course, which is attributed to David. It's Psalm 51. This is something that even today, every day, the Jewish people pray. There's a part of it that even we Christians pray, that they pray, and that is, "Lord, open my lips, for my mouth will proclaim your praise." That's verse 17. And that's what David did. But the full psalm is actually prayed on those high holy days. Have mercy on me, O God, a sinner. And every single day, especially religious in the Catholic Church and in the Orthodox, pray Psalm 51. Have mercy on me, a sinner. And I just want to invite all of you to pray that together, and perhaps even every day as we make our way through this Lent, because we want this same mercy from the Lord. Following in the example of David, we're sinners, and we know that, and we want to turn our hearts back to the Lord. So together in prayer, we can end this time overlooking this battlefield where David was, where he overcame the enemies, and pray this together. Have mercy on me, O God, according to your merciful love. According to your abundant mercy, blot out my transgressions. Wash me thoroughly from my iniquity, from my guilt. Cleanse me from my sin. I know my transgressions, and my sin is ever before me. Against you, you alone have I sinned, and done what is evil in your sight, so that you are justified in your sentence, and blameless in your judgment. Further down it says, and we'll pray, purge me, Lord, with hyssop, that I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow. Further down in verse 10, create in me a clean heart, O God, free of leaven, right? Create in me a clean heart, O God, and put a new and right spirit within me. Cast me not away from your presence, and take not your Holy Spirit from me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation, and uphold me with a willing spirit. Then I will teach transgressors your ways, and sinners will return to you. Amen. So this is my prayer for you, for me, for each of us as we continue on our way this Lent. And I hope you can join us again on Monday. We'll have a reflection on the next parable of the kingdom, and I hope you can join us and know that from here, from the Holy Land, from this beautiful place, we're praying for each and every one of you. And God bless you.
If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and give it a thumbs up. It's an easy way for you to support our ministry and help us share the message of Jesus from Magdala in the Holy Land right to you in your home.